What is going on, guys? My name is DJ Miles, and I'm back with Infinity Joe to review the latest episode of Dr. Stone. This is episode 17, 100 Years in a Thousand Skies. Stay tuned.
よう俺だけ悪口じゃねえか次回ドクターストーン9の夜と1000の空そうさるぜコッペ
The closing credits on Dr. Stone now makes a whole lot more sense, and I actually had to watch it all the way through because I felt like it complemented the episode that we watched.
I actually had the exact same situation when I was watching it at home, too, of like, you know what, I now want to watch this end credits just one more time, because most of the time I try to speed through it for time's sake.
Yeah.
But this time I was like, you know what, this actually fits very well now.
And my biggest gripe is, why is he not his actual biological father?
Yeah, that was also quite a shocker, too.
And I love how he just says it nonchalantly the first time. It's like, yeah, I'm not his biological father, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, wait, what did you just say? And then they had to remind us one more time. And I'm like, okay, so I wasn't crazy. I don't know if they'll explain the reasoning behind it. I think the reasoning, and this is just my theory, is that they just didn't want him to be a biological father because when he ended up hooking up with that singer, I'm going to assume that Kohaku is going to get with Senku together at some point. Or that might be a thing and people don't want to be weird about like, oh, but they're related. It's like, guys, but thousands of years later.
Senku even brought that up himself.
Yeah.
But also, it's that matter that I believe Senku and his father, like, it's probably more of one of those things that he's still related, but he's not biological father. Like, maybe he was it was his uncle, or maybe he was, like, married to a woman who already had a child, or something to that effect. But, regardless, though, it's still that matter of, like, you know, even if he's not his biological son, he loves Senku like he is
like a
son.
father, yeah. So I'm not taking back anything I said last week because he's still an amazing father figure. Right. Now we know a few mysteries solved here, right? This whole freak accident somewhere in South America.
Yeah.
And how did they track that down? Through Twitter and Instagram.
They kind of showed throughout the course of the episode that some of the like surviving people were like starting to die off. Because first it was Connie, the woman with the brown hair, and she got pneumonia. And then those other two scientists, they tried to go off to find like medicine. But I'm assuming that they never came back. Like either they got lost at sea or something else could have happened to them.
Yeah. Oh.
And then shortly after, the other gentleman, blanking on his name, he then got pneumonia, and then Lillian probably got pneumonia too. Yeah. So this probably explains why it was that the society they have are still like as primitive as they are, only because they didn't have all this groups of scientists to help try to like nurture them forward with it.
And I think what's scary in their situation is these are 6 highly intelligent people. Lillian, I mean, hey, she's a singer, so but they're put in a situation where they pretty much have to restart civilization from the ground up. Even with the tools that they had, right? I think there's a point where Senku's father's like, oh, like, look at my survival kit. Yeah, but that's not going to last you 3 years. So where do you go from there?
We saw at least that he was alive, and that's where he got the idea that I want to teach society, so let's come up with at least 100 stories to tell them. And that's where we get the whole thing of them trying to recreate the Momotaro story, but also like tell people like, hey, go to this area, and also like kind of set it up almost as like Senku being like a fable in a way.
Let me ask you this, totally non-related. What do you think of the singing in this episode?
It's a little off-putting at points. Like, I don't mind it as in a vacuum, but I do feel like it's just kind of off-putting when the entire show is already in Japanese, and then she suddenly starts singing in English.
Yeah. There's a point where there's like some emotional moment, and someone's trying to talk, and then I just hear the like American singing in the background. I'm like, okay, this is becoming a little too High School Musical for me. But nevertheless, I still thought it was effective in what they wanted to do, right? We have to also talk about this too, which was very monumental. That scene towards the end where Rory was showing Senku, oh, here's all the graves, and we're just assuming where your father laid to rest.
Yeah.
We had that very emotional scene, and I'm like, if he doesn't cry, this will not be effective. Now, let me ask you this. why do you think someone like me or just in general makes that scene more effective for the shonen protagonist, for Senku?
Well, part of it is that for up until this moment, we have never seen Senku show like any real deep emotion. Like all of it was always like just this kind of general like glee of like, oh, everything's a challenge, everything's fun. And like sometimes he gets a little hesitant, and that's when he's like just trying to figure stuff out, like what's he gonna do with like Tsukasa and so forth. But he's always been brimming with confidence. This was like the only moment it felt like he actually was emotionally vulnerable for just a moment. As like he just kind of realized everything his like adopted father, who treated like, he's a goof and so forth. But this is like where he kind of appreciates like everything he did for him and all that.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think it makes you kind of root for him more. All of this, right? All the stories and the culmination of 100 stories led to this moment. Now, if Senku didn't have the resolve to push forward, to rebuild civilization, now he has the drive. And that's what makes it super effective for me. Now that everyone's living happily ever after, and we see Magma in the festivities too, being a good guy, like, only a few episodes ago, he was saying he just couldn't wait to take over and just be such a dick, but hey, whatever. So.
I'm still not convinced, though. He's probably... I have a feeling he's going to join Tsukasa if given the chance.
Yeah, maybe out of spite, so we'll have to wait and see. But now we end up seeing Jin telling Senku, hey, Tsukasa's coming, his military force is coming. Yeah. What are you going to do about it? Because Senku's like, let's just show what the Kingdom of Science is all about. But I'm like... But what do you really have in terms of defending against Tsukasa? So that's what gets me a little bit frightened. But now that we actually see him with drive to maybe push his dream to rebuild civilization further because of this episode, I'm sure we'll be okay.
Yeah, well, that and also we've already been seeing them try so much to just develop the stuff to make the antibiotic. And so a lot of that same like stuff they have, they are going to be able to reuse. Like we saw in the openings that they'll going to be having like steel weapons and because you can't move a full military army in just like a night or so. It's probably going to take them a little bit of a trek to get there. So they probably have enough time to build and fortify defenses. I'm honestly figuring this is going to be kind of like a Seven Samurai situation where they're just going to try to, like, they may not have the manpower, but they're going to develop ways and tactics around it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with all the sulfuric acid stuff they made and all the other acids, periodic table elements that they, made right there in a short span of time, I'm thinking that's pretty much powerful enough to maybe take out a lot of those strong people.
We didn't get a chance to talk about, and I wish that I wrote down his name too, but the other scientist who, like the one who married Connie, and how he just had that good moment with Senku's dad about like, I actually had a lot of fun doing all this despite how it went. Yeah,
a very emotional scene, very effective as well. Even during that moment when he was saying, wow, I never had ramen that tasted so good because of you. I'm sure hopefully one day the ramen thing will come back. And that even makes that ramen episode feel so much better now.
Oh, yeah.
So, but Senku's father, like crying in the side, like I thought, I'm like, wow, like he's very touched. All around, great episode. I mean, this was definitely one of my favorites up there.
Oh, yeah.
So.
And again, we got that ramp up of what's going to be coming next with that Stone Wars coming up.
Yeah. So, guys, let me know what you guys thought about episode 17 of Dr. Stone. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more anime content down the road. My name is DJ Malls.
And I'm Infinity Joe, and you can check me out on Twitter and Instagram at InfinityJoe_art.
And as I always say, to be continued, take care.